It's time for Debrief, TRT World's wrap-up of the top stories from last week.
Hi, I'm ready to go here in about 2 seconds.
It's coming back to me in 30 seconds, by the way. Is that all right?
Yeah, that's good.
The U.S. President Donald Trump says he has moved 2 of America's nuclear submarines. This comes after Trump set an August 8th deadline for a deal between Russia and Ukraine to end their war.
President Donald Trump says U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff will travel to Russia this week.
What isn't clear is whether Witkoff has been told to reinforce the threat of sanctions or offer incentives to the Kremlin.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has received U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff at the Kremlin.
The Kremlin has called talks useful and constructive.
It's the question everyone is asking. What did Russian President Vladimir Putin say to White House envoy Steve Witkoff on Wednesday, 2 days before new U.S. sanctions were set to be leveled against Moscow, that suddenly gave the White House optimism about a face-to-face meeting between Putin and Donald Trump and a possible Ukraine ceasefire breakthrough?
One possibility of what the two could have been talking about is the possible air truce in Ukraine and in Russia that would be banning the strikes deep inside the territory of each other.
We haven't determined where, but we had some very good talks with President Putin today. There's a good chance that there will be a meeting very soon.
Got some breaking news then, because the Kremlin has just confirmed that Vladimir Putin is willing to meet Donald Trump and that it'll happen in the coming days. Preparations apparently already underway for a summit.
This is possible, but before that, certain conditions should be created. And unfortunately, we are still far from creating such conditions.
Moscow believes that this meeting is something that will also lead to the lack of new sanctions that the United States has threatened to be imposed on Russia.
Trump did follow through on one threat. He slapped 50% tariffs on all goods coming from India into the U.S. as India's punishment for buying Russian oil. He said he might dump those tariffs if a ceasefire is reached, or he might slap higher tariffs on other nations that buy Russian oil if there is no ceasefire.
Donald Trump has said that a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine could involve, quote, the swapping of territories on both sides.
We're going to get some back. We're going to get some switched. There'll be some swapping of territories.
Donald Trump is going to be meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Alaska on the 15th of August.
There are some places in this world where Vladimir Putin could be arrested because he has been under indictment. That probably was an issue there too, but apparently that is not an issue to come to Alaska.
2 children and 7 adults have now died of starvation since Monday, taking the malnutrition death toll since the war started to nearly 189.
Even the controversial US and Israeli-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation admits the crisis is spiraling out of control.
Countries have been airdropping supplies into the enclave in an attempt to alleviate the worsening food crisis.
Aid continues to be dropped from the skies. Sometimes they don't reach the hungry. On other occasions, aid boxes have even killed people as they landed. These scenes, once rare, are now becoming more common.
And amongst those killed whilst trying to get aid was Odai Koran. He died after being hit by an aid box dropped from the air in central Gaza. Odai was a nurse in Gaza's Aqsa hospital and criticised the aid drops in an interview.
This is a humiliation, especially that an airdrop is equivalent to half a truckload. Is this a way to help displaced people who suffer from hunger, thirst and disease? Our conditions are disastrous, and look at what we are getting. The aid is mixed with sand. This is not a way to help us, it is only to humiliate us. This is also causing sedition among our people. If you are able to drop aid from the sky, then you can break the siege and allow aid to come in through the crossings.
Some journalists have managed to get a glimpse of what Gaza looks like now, embedding with planes delivering aid.
Israeli leadership shows little sign of softening its stance.
Far from ending its brutal assault, Israel appears set to make things even worse.
Will Israel take control of all of Gaza?
We intend to.
We've heard they want to occupy Gaza. What's left to occupy?
There is no Gaza left.
Many here are afraid that Israel will go ahead with its plan to occupy Gaza City and ethnically cleanse the entire area.
And here's another serving of top stories with our news in brief. It's not just Gaza seeing the worst. The occupied West Bank is witnessing what rights groups call one of the most aggressive demolitions in decades. Entire Palestinian communities are being erased, bulldozed, displaced, and forgotten.
شعور لا يتوصف يعني تحس قلبك يتمزع على جيرانك على دارك فيش شيء ينحكي.
The Israeli military told them it would only be a couple days. That was over 5 months ago. Israel has been demolishing Palestinian homes at rates not seen in the last half-century, with the UN recording a 200% increase in the number of Palestinians forcibly displaced since October 7th.
On Friday, Trump hosted Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan and Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev in Washington for another attempt at peace mediation. The two countries have been locked in a bitter territorial and ethnic conflict since the late 1980s over the Karabakh region, internationally recognized as part of Azerbaijan, but occupied by Armenia for decades. After a major offensive in 2020, Azerbaijan has regained most of its territory. During their trip to Washington, the two leaders signed a roadmap that establishes a transit corridor connecting the Nakhchivan region and mainland Azerbaijan. The road, referred to as the Trump Route for International Peace and Prosperity, or TRIP, will be developed by the U.S. Negotiations to decide on who will operate the route will start in the coming weeks.
Today, historic day, also is because we bring peace. President Trump brings peace to Caucasus, and we're grateful for that. And I'm sure that Armenia and Azerbaijan will find courage and responsibility to reconcile.
On Tuesday, Rwanda signed a deal with the U.S. to take up to 250 migrants, becoming the third country after South Sudan and Eswatini to sign on under U.S. President Donald Trump's mass deportation campaign. But analysts say it involves another important pledge in the region, Kigali's June peace deal with the Democratic Republic of Congo, a peace deal that has failed many times before now, but has the U.S. as a broker and depends on Trump's support.
Kigali feels like this very mercantilist, scratch my back, I'll scratch your back deal sits well with that.
Rights groups warned the policy sends migrants to countries where they have no connection and few protections. On Monday, Brazil's former president Jair Bolsonaro was placed under house arrest, accused of plotting a coup and defying court orders. By Wednesday, U.S. President Trump, a close ally, slapped a 50% tariff on Brazilian imports, condemning the arrest as a witch hunt. The tariff sparked protests and frayed relations with one of Latin America's biggest economies. And don't forget our programs, Africa Matters, Money Talks, and Beyond the Game.
Sports washing is the use of popular sports to promote a positive image and distract from a country's human rights issues. The Democratic Republic of the Congo has made deals with European football clubs at a time when the government is negotiating another deal with M23 rebels to end fighting in eastern DRC. Now that's a region the World Food Programme says over 7,000 people have been killed and more than 7 million uprooted from their homes this year alone. In October last year, the DRC signed a landmark 3-year deal with Italian football club AC Milan to become a premium and official tourism destination partner. The club did not disclose the value of the deal, but it includes plans to set up a football academy in the DRC. The government also inked another 3-year football agreement in June, this time with the French club AS Monaco, starting this month. DRC Heart of Africa will be printed on the sleeve of Monaco's jerseys.
Est-ce que c'est ça la priorité?
Is this the priority in a country where insecurity is rampant and the government does not control part of the national territory? We don't think this is the priority for the Congo. Before signing such contracts, we should have modernized our stadiums, reassured tourists for their safety, and built roads. Without that, I don't know the relevance.
Donald Trump believes the US is being ripped off by the world, and now his attempt at rebalancing has officially begun. On Wednesday, new tariffs came into force on nearly 100 countries in a move that has created all sorts of economic and political ripples. Brazil faces the highest rate in the world with a 50% levy imposed on most goods it sends to the United States. America's neighbor Mexico is being hit with 25% after Trump had initially suggested a much higher level, while Canada gets 35%. Negotiations are still underway with China after months of dispute. Washington and Beijing have agreed to hold off until Tuesday. And India currently faces 25% duties on exports to the US, but this is set to double to 50% in 20 days' time.
It's only been around 10 weeks since Galatasaray celebrated a record-extending 25th Turkish Super League crown. But the new season is already around the corner, with Gala starting their title defence on Friday in Gaziantep. Tyler Duman has more.
If you're a fan of Turkish football, Istanbul is the place to be. Not a weekend goes by without a roar of cheers, chants, and boos. 7 clubs call the megacity home, but as usual, all roads lead to the big 3. Galatasaray, Fenerbahce, and Beşiktaş, the 3 Istanbul giants who, between them, own 60 out of the last 69 championships. You might assume the team that won the last 3 would be basking in the glow of past glories, but no. Gala has built an even stronger squad.
Yes, it's been all about quality for Galatasaray, not quantity. First off, they added Leroy Sané, the former Manchester City and Bayern Munich winger, for this many dollars, and then annihilated Turkish transfer records, spending 87 million to make the stay of last year's temporary titan Victor Osimhen permanent in Istanbul.
Osimhen didn't just smash the Turkish league record, the Nigerian superstar also became the 3rd highest transfer in the world this offseason. And he made waves the moment he landed in Istanbul.
I'm home, this is where I want to be, and I'm happy to be able to be here, to come back to where I feel safe, to where I feel home for myself, for my family, for my friends. And just like I used to say, the story continues, and I'm happy to continue with Galatasaray.